Yorushka, second person, fourth song. I hope that makes sense. Yes, we're on the song Devilishness, and to be honest, so far this album has been really interesting. Now, I'll give you the quick rundown of why we're here, because of the fact that I had heard a couple of their songs. I know some people who follow my channel have been very vocal about the fact you need to check out more of Yorushka, and I started to get a little idea for what they were about, really liked what I was hearing, and so I thought, well, I'll jump into this album. But what's really interested me is that you guys have mentioned that the first Yorushka album, or at least there's been a gradual change over the history of the band, but certainly if you go back to the first album, you've got a very different group where it was much more electronic J-pop sounding, and they were leaning into a sound that was more kind of popular at the time, whereas this album apparently is more just about Nabuna having a good time, just doing music that works for him on some kind of aesthetic, I like jazzy musicians kind of level. So as a result, my intention is when we get to the end of this album, then we'll go back to the first album and do a track by track of that, and we can see how they contrast. So I'm hoping you guys like that idea, and hopefully we'll do that together. But we're on Devilishness now. Again, no music video. That's fine, actually. I mean, there's a few music videos coming up later in the album, but I'm just kind of like looking forward to just hearing the music in its own right. And, you know, the first couple of tracks have been very groove based. Okay, we had in the intro first, but then tracks 2 and 3, so effectively the first 2 songs, very groove based. So I'm kind of interested to see if this goes in a different direction, or again, if we're going to fit into something which is a little bit more of a groove with like punctuated choruses and changes. Certainly though, when I review songs, just in case you don't know, I review them as much as for their place in the album as I do for their own individual qualities. So we just come off the back of a song that I really enjoyed. Pace is high, things are bouncing along. Let's see what we get with Devilishness. Oh yeah, straight back in with the funk. Wait, I heard that. What's the name of that synth? That bass is funky. The bass on this album is nice. I'm definitely getting some sort of cheeky old school vibes on this in so many ways. Yeah, what is that synth? I don't know what it's called there. Very much kind of like an old Casio keyboard. So I feel like we're back and forthing. Here we go. So that was a deviation and then slam back into the groove again, but now with a chorus melody. That's that keyboard again! Oh, you could really feel just like the left hand of the piano just bumped in there for a second. It was really kind of cool. I'm gonna go mad trying to work out what that little Casio sound is. I think it's the Casio. Okay, we're back to the central groove. I noticed this song is bouncing a lot between the central groove and that trumpet refrain. Most of the song seems to be bouncing between the two of those. Here we go again. Oh, okay. Now the vocals over that. Can't get over that sound, sorry. But this is a really good groove. Again, this album seems to be very, very groove based. comes to guitar solos like this, I wonder how much of this is improv and whether just Nabuno just wrote the guitar solo. I'm guessing he probably just wrote the guitar solo. He's a Vocaloid producer. Detail is everything. Back to the refrain. What was that? And all these weird, like, whistling and sighing sounds in the background. Fade outs. Fade outs. You can tell that he's giving nods towards like old school music from like the late 60s and 70s when fade outs are being employed. I, for one, am not a big fan of the fade out, but I gotta be honest, I feel like the style that he's going for, the kind of retroistic style, does make it make a lot more sense. Now, regarding this song, this was a ton of fun. This is one of those tracks where nearly 5 minutes just kind of rolls by super quick, really sort of flies by, but just in this kind of gentle grooving way where you can just kind of listen to this over and over again, I think quite a lot. It's interesting though, because it does make me think with a song like this that seems to sound like, or I'm inclined to infer, that there is a lot of improvisation going on here. And yet at the same time, my brain is telling me that maybe there isn't. And so this is the reason why I say that. This is a song where a lot of the real structure of the song, as I mentioned at the time, is kind of going between that central kind of groove, which is both the groove that's underneath the vocals in the verse and the chorus. So just kind of like what the backing instruments are playing for most of the time, and then the refrain where you get the da 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 da, the little trumpets. Again, my vocal representations of instruments, always perfect. Getting that little da 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 kind of trumpet thing happening, which is effectively the refrain, and basically the song is just bouncing between that all the time, and you could argue that that pretty much is the same kind of instrumental pattern happening underneath both of them. So it's a song that's very much based around a groove, like a repeating set of notes, a repeating chord, a repeating basis of the song that keeps on going. And as I mentioned, the songs that we had previously on this album also had a similar vibe. Now, the reason why this is particularly interesting is, as much as I like this song, I'm obviously approaching this. This is the first time I've sat down and listened to a full Yorushika album. And arguably, I think I've only ever heard 3 or 4 songs at all from this group prior to doing this. So I'm kind of piecing together what I think is going on here. Because as much as I enjoy it, songwriting is what I love. Even more than musicianship, I always say this: songwriting for me I love songwriting. And one of the things that attracted me to this group is that like Nabuna is kind of beloved as being an amazing songwriter, and obviously he's found himself an incredible singer to work with, so you got a really good teaming there. But I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to the songs. And when it comes to Vocaloid writers or people who came up through Vocaloid, as a general, not always, but one of the prime indicators of a Vocaloid writer is that the songs almost have an ADHD-like attention to nuance and detail, because that's the whole thing about writing that style, is that you have everything in front of you, and because you don't have to rely on musicianship, you can pick apart and change whatever you want. You can get into the details. You can have like little impossible drum fills that will be super hard to play, and you can mess around and create with these things. And most of the truly great Vocaloid producers are the ones who get in there and they just look at every little bit of musicianship, and they think, okay, let's change that, let's alter that. And this is why I say like a bedroom, and that's what a professional writer, if you go back over the previous decades, that's what the best professional writers have always been like. Right back to orchestral composers, just the attention to detail. And I feel like Vocaloid has just been a system by which those people with that mentality can find a way to produce music and become famous. And that's the vibe I get from Nabuna. But then you listen to a song that's effectively repeat core based, sort of this repeat groove going around, and you think, well, that's kind of the antithesis, isn't it? That's a song where there isn't like lots of little changes and things coming in. That's a song where just like a central premise comes in and then it just repeats. Isn't that a sort of song which is more interesting for musicians, where they can just improvise parts? Maybe. Or maybe that's exactly what Nabuna's doing. Is Nabuna's setting a very... I'm guessing here, I would love if any of you guys know the answer to this. Nabuna's setting a repeating core. But then where he's having fun is, rather than having these sort of big changes like, oh, here's a key change, oh, the song goes off into a different time signature. Instead of doing any of that, he's just sitting there and he's just playing around with a little bit. Oh, let's have the drums do a little skipped beat here. Oh, let's have like a kind of guitar going down here. I can't help but feel that that's what he's actually enjoying here. Is he's enjoying, rather than doing some big crazy arrangement, he's just enjoying setting a catchy, interesting core for a song and then just dabbling with the nuances. That's what I wonder. I could be wrong. It could be that he just wants to chill out, set a nice groove, and then he just wants to hear what musicians do with his groove. Could be that as well. But as the self-proclaimed #1 cheerleader of the songwriters, real rock stars, I'm in here just kind of like going, I hope it could be the instrumentalists improving. But I hope it's just him. I hope he just handed them a sheet of music and they were like, oh, okay, you want me to... Oh, okay. Oh, it's a little bit of improv. Oh, okay. The songwriter improving on the page. I like that idea. Anyway, there you go. I enjoyed this. As a song, yeah, it kind of carries the same qualities that we heard in the first two. I think it's very structured. I think it definitely makes the time fly by. I think compared to Become a Cloud was a nice start. But I will say that the two songs I've heard subsequently I've found to be more complete. They flowed better. They were more enjoyable. I really like the time signature in Become a Cloud. I love the way it does that kind of skipping rhythm. That's so cool. But I just think the flowers are also noisy. What's a title? That song, really enjoyed that. I think that is definitely my favourite song of the three so far. Also short, very concise, very to the point. Really kind of made its point very quickly and efficient use of time. Devilishness I liked. I think I could listen to it for a long time, but it was definitely just kind of a case of dabbling with one groove on repeat. I enjoyed this a lot though. Really looking for, if any of you guys know more about how this song or this album was crafted, I'd be really interested to know. But yeah, I'm still early on my journey, still enjoying this. And one thing I will say, as I mentioned, my plan is to get to the end of this album and then go back to the debut album. But if you guys, let me know. Do you want me to listen to the two albums at the same time? Do ones from second person, one from the debut, one from second person, one from debut, one from second person, one from debut. Do you think that would be more fun and interesting, or do you think I should finish this album and then start the other album from scratch? Let me know. I'll be interested either way. But look, until we do get to that point, until I hear from you in the comments or whatever happens, until then, and until I see you in the next one of these, for now, ciao, ciao.